Hey everyone, this is Alan McKay and welcome to episode 7. Now, this is continuing on the interview series, so we're going to be discussing how to make the most impact before you even go to your job interview.
Welcome to the Alan McKay Podcast. Alan is an Emmy Award-winning visual effects artist and mentor to many leading industry experts. Listen in as Alan talks with other industry leaders in film, video games, and visual effects about their experience, lessons, and methodology. Alan will teach you pivotal advice to fast-track your career, better your skills, and reach your ultimate dream job. Check out the latest episodes on alanmckay.com.
Hey everyone, this is Alan McKay and welcome to a new episode. Now, this is a very powerful episode and it's one about creating opportunities, visibility, and taking the initiative by entering through the side door, by creating your own chances out there in the job world. If you follow the flock and do what everyone else does, in other words, go through the traditional paths of applying for a job, then your resume, your reel, your everything are going to go up against everyone else's. Now, if you're able to find ways to stand out and create your own opportunities, then you'll be singled out and you won't need to go up against other people. Now, these are just examples, but there are many ones that you can do and you can apply right now, right away. So I advise you to not only listen to this and take notes, but think how this can apply to you right now in your situation, what you can do. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well. Now, on a side note, I mentioned that I'm currently in South Carolina and recording these next door to the NBA star Xavier McDaniel, and I didn't expect them to start playing basketball while I'm recording this outside, so I do apologize. It might get a bit noisy. I'm not sure whether all the yelling and basketball bouncing got picked up or not. If you hear that, then you know why. Now, like I said, I'd love to hear your input on this because all the email I've received so far and all the reviews you guys have written have been really insightful and really great and very motivating as well. So I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. I have more information to come, but I want to single these out so that way they're more in bite-sized chunks that you can really take in. So that being said, let's dive in and really make some notes of this and think how this can apply to what you're doing and what you're doing right now in your career and where you want to be and how you can apply this to get there. Episode 4, we covered overcoming anxiety. This episode is a lot more hands-on as we go more in depth into preparation. Now, Sun Tzu said, "Every battle is won before it's ever fought." And I couldn't agree more. I believe that everything that we do is got to be strategic and calculated and prepared. The more prepared you are, the more you plan ahead, the more you're going to succeed, the more you're going to win. Okay, and it might seem like a lot of work to approach everything with a lot of planning and a lot of work going into it. But keep this in mind that the more you do it, the more it becomes second nature. And that's where it is really important because otherwise, if you go in blind, then you're not going to control the outcome and you're not going to be prepared. And that becomes very obvious very quickly. So today I want to talk to you about preparation, both for your job interview, but also for other meetings down the line. And this isn't a talk about make sure you bring your resume, your portfolio, and brush your teeth. This is about being able to walk into that interview, into the office or studio for the first time, and have everything lined up to absolutely destroy it. We've got a lot to cover, so I'm just going to dive right in. First of all, forget the actual interview. Honestly, if you do things how I tell you, the interview part will be the easy part. I will cover how to get the job interview, how to apply for the job, and how to negotiate the money and renegotiate after the first 3 months or so. There's a lot on this end, and I want to keep this talk very specifically laser focused. So that is stuff I will cover down the line, but for now I want to focus on this section, which there's a lot to dive into. One of the most common things that happens after you apply for a job, or at least after the interview, if not beforehand, is typically they're going to look you up. They're going to go online and check you out. One of my friends who works for 343, which is one of the game divisions of Microsoft responsible for Halo and Destiny, when she first applied for a job at Microsoft, she asked me one specific question, which was, because I know employers these days check social media, Google, and dig through your Facebook, is it wise for me to take down any photos of me drinking and partying with friends? I don't want them to get the wrong impression. So look, my honest opinion of this is that it's very positive to put those things up. You want to cater to them that you're human, that you have fun, and that you're not an introvert. Okay, so having pictures of you at a bar with some friends having a beer is not the end of the world. Neither is you being at a nightclub. Now, if you have 2 beers and you're doing drugs and this is every single photo of you on Facebook, then yeah, that's going to paint a really bad picture for you. But if you are showcasing the fun side of you, what you do in your spare time, those are all very important factors. You know, you hear people who mention in job interviews, they ask you what do you like to do in your spare time, what your hobbies are, and they might sound like fluff, but they are really trying to figure out how you're going to fit in their company and fit with the team, because they need to make sure that the person they hire is going to do the job, is not going to piss everyone else off and make the work environment unpleasurable to be in. Because at the end of the day, it's going to cost them a lot more money to replace you later than it is just to look over another candidate now. So like I said, it's very common for them to look at a lot of the information that they have in front of them and to going to get a better idea of who you are. So all this information, such as Facebook, is very easy to access, and it definitely will paint a picture of who that person is, as well as the phone call prior to any interview. If they chat to you on the phone, it's definitely those two things together that are going to really kind of paint the picture of who that person really is. So that isn't necessarily a bad thing, because you can definitely cater all this to your own benefit and be able to put in the right information to really kind of paint the picture that you want, rather than just throwing up random pictures of kittens and your family and your artwork and your favorite band. So keep that in mind. But that being said, at a later time, I want to delve a lot more into the specifics of how to hack your own online presence. In other words, how to control a lot more SEO. In other words, if you have a lot of negative information out there on you. In other words, Facebook, things like that is one thing, and you have complete control over that content. Doing organic searches on Google, stuff like that, is going to show a lot of random stuff. And if you have things out there that you don't want people to see, then you need to find ways to get rid of them. So I will go through both how to boost things that you want and really kind of cater online searching to showcase the specific things that you want people to see when they Google your name, as well as maybe to lessen the ranking of specific things that maybe are a little bit damaging to people who actually look you up. Now, that's something I want to cover in a later episode. I am going to be in a couple of weeks' time speaking at Autodesk University in Vegas, and one of the things I want to show off is how to customize, like specifically cater your Facebook to give a certain impression. This is something I've got a lot of experience in, and I've done this over the years, more just to experiment with, but you really can paint a picture from the profile photo you have up, the bio information you have, and all the photos and all the posts that you have on there, as well as additional links and everything else you tie into it as well. So you can change this to give off different personas of what you want, and I want to show a few different examples where you might change your images to be all professional photography and be very kind of specific about certain things that you showcase. That's going to give one very vivid example, but then, you know, showing a party version, showing different versions, different templates to how you want it to be. You can either be taken very seriously, you can show a lot more of a lively side to you, you can show more of a business side, you can show more of a family, I love kittens and cats, and will you date me? Everything that you do is completely in control of you, and you own that content, and you can do what you want with it. So be careful about what you show and what you don't show. They're both as equally important. So what I'm getting at is first impressions last. And typically these days, their first impression of you is going to be made long before they actually meet you in person. I've done this a lot, and in my experience of hiring a lot of people, interviewing a lot of people, I'm pretty confident I know enough about someone before I meet them for an interview, based on the phone call I had with them, as well as what I found about them online. Those two things together is enough to paint my first impression. And from there, when they come in, it's pretty much going to be either to seal the deal or for any final kind of warning bells to pop up. So that leads me to my next. Building your brand. So how powerful would it be if you're applying for a job and the guys who read the email already know who you are? They already know who you are. This is going to be a very powerful trigger. Remember we talked about how intimidated most people are because you need to sell them on your skills and what you do and try and convince them to understand a bit of your skill set and who you are. So what if they already knew who you are? And I'll say that again. What if they already knew who you are? When you apply for a job, they already knew your background, knew enough about you, and the key point is to stand out. So if you're applying for a job and they already understand, okay, yeah, I know who this guy is, instantly you're going to have the upper hand over other candidates, other people they're considering for the position. Now, this isn't as hard as it sounds. Literally going to conferences, going to other events, showing visibility wherever you can, networking and taking the initiative to step up and get to know people is all it really takes to stand out. Now, if you go to events and you meet people and you steal them away for a couple of minutes just to shoot the shit and have a few minutes of their time, that's at least enough to plant a seed. And even that instant recognition of having that person know who you are when you apply is already going to give you an advantage, because it's like, oh, even as a junior, you're going to be like, oh, I know this kid. Yeah, he's a good guy. We shot the shit for a few minutes at this conference. Yeah, like, let's line up an interview. It doesn't take much for that. Now, at the same time, you can step beyond this. You don't need to just go to a conference and get to meet someone. Having them recognize your name or who you are is one thing, but showing that you have that initiative to step up more can be very powerful. Now, if you were to go and speak at an event that you later are talking with the studio and they attended that event, they attended that talk, they saw you speaking as a keynote speaker, a masterclass speaker, whatever it's going to be, doing something like that obviously is going to position you with more authority. It definitely will give you an upper hand, because then not only are you seen as someone who spoke at an event, they recognize your name, but they're also going to say instantly that this person obviously knows their stuff if they're speaking at this event that I attended and I met with them briefly. Obviously that doesn't apply to everyone. Not everyone's going to be able to get in and speak at events and do all that sort of stuff, especially when starting out. But again, even just going and attending an event, volunteering as one of the people helping set up, it's not the most glamorous thing, but being able to be associated with the event as someone working there, again, when you go around and meet people and just quickly, say, hey, I'm working this event, just volunteering, helping set up things, coordinate, do running around. It shows the initiative. It shows that you're passionate, you're tapped into that industry, and you're trying. So that already is a lot more powerful than simply going up and saying, hey, I'm looking for work, how's it going? I thought I'd attend the event. So simple stuff, but I just want to plant the seed and get you guys to start thinking about, okay, well, there's plenty of things around that I could attend or I could do something at, so why don't I find ways to stand out? And that's what I'm getting at here, is just rather than going the traditional route of let me validate myself in an interview and try and stand out from all the other people trying to be interviewed, it's better to find your way through the side door. In other words, create your own opportunity. So this story I've mentioned a few times before in different talks because it shows a really great example of taking the initiative. And this is a girl that I knew back in Australia who wanted to break into the 3D industry, and she had sent her work around to all the local websites, 3D forums, news groups, mailing lists, anything that was related to her city that had a lot of 3D people on it, trying to break in. So eventually she decided to set up and organize a big industry drinks night, which really isn't that much work to do. And all she needed to really do was go on a few forums, news groups, mailing lists, websites, all the places she'd been posting her work, and literally just post a quick flyer saying, hey, I'm hosting, or there is an industry drinks event being hosted on this night at this bar at this time. And all you need is the location and the time, and people are going to show up. If it's a chance to drink and party, then great. Now, if you want to take it a step further, it just takes a few extra calls or emails to a few local places, especially resellers or places that more support the industry, and just simply ask them like, hey, I'm hosting this event, would you be willing to chip in $500 for a bar tab for the event? And I'll post your name on the emails and everything else. Now, of course they're going to, that's basketball in the background, of course they're going to do this. For $500, it isn't that much money, and if you get 4 sponsors, then that really is going to be the carrot on the stick to get people to come, because that's $2,000 bar tab, which is enough to get people in there, get them interested for a few drinks. So doing that, like I said, is not that much work. It's just a couple of emails to do, and you can get a lot going from that. Now, here's the thing, it takes very little work, and it can be a lot more work if you want it to make it even bigger, but to get the ball rolling, it isn't really. So if you pick a venue, just a local pub, nothing official, you don't need to book a room or anything with a lot of overhead where a lot of cost is involved. Just pick a venue, like your local bar that you think a lot of people can fit at. Just tell people to show up on that day and call a few companies, either software or vendor, like hardware companies, even studios, agencies, whatever. Ask for $500 and just get a couple of people to sponsor it. So it's small enough that they won't even think twice about it, and it's great publicity for them, because then they'll be associated with the industry and for very little cost. So once you have that in place, go after a door prize. Again, this is something typically most software resellers and other companies get dozens of stuff for free, so getting them to give out a video card worth a couple $100 or whatever, that kind of stuff, they have plenty of that lingering around. And again, having a door prize for them isn't a bigger deal to contribute. Now, this can be like a 2 or 3 punch system. In other words, send everyone info about the event, get the vendors on board, send more information about the bar tab, and again later about the door prize. The more information about this and the more you pull the thread to get as many of these little magnets in for more visibility as you can, the more visibility the event will get. Again, everything I mentioned here is not that much work. You can do all this in a couple of hours spread out over a week, and once you have all of this ready, make everyone who attends up sign up for the mailing list so you can send them more information. And the easiest way to do this is simply just have them drop their email address or business card into the ball or hat or whatever that you're using for the door prize, or simply go around and mingle with everyone, which you should be doing anyway. And when you're meeting everyone, introduce yourself and just say, hey, by the way, let me get you on the mailing list because I'm going to be organizing another one of these events shortly. By doing that, you're going to get everyone added. You can have an iPad around with you, whatever else. No one's ever going to say no to getting an invitation to get more booze and more interaction with other people in the industry. So I've hosted plenty of these around the world, and I've done a lot of them for my own reasons, usually just for fun, because I like to get out and get to know everyone in the industry, especially in new cities. But it's very easy if you want to post a page on Facebook and get people going. Again, posting photos of the event, getting someone to just run around with their iPhone or whatever and take photos of everyone is really good social proof to put all that up on Facebook, because next time more and more people are going to go, especially if there's a lot of recognizable people in the industry going out and seeing that. So getting all this going, it builds momentum and it gets you positioned as the coordinator, as the person, the glue in the industry, getting everyone out and getting everyone together. The cool thing is, again, moving further with this, you can put that into your email signature after you've hosted 2 or 3 events. You could be president of XYZ industry events or whatever association. Again, have fun with this, be down to earth. You don't need to make this gaudy and over the top, but by doing that, you're going to get recognized as being the guy or girl who puts all this stuff together. And that sort of thing can be very powerful. So whatever you want to call it, but once you've done that, you're grouped in there and you can be the glue that really kind of brings the industry together and gets everyone out. So again, it's a way to push your status, because if you're organizing this group industry event that every big VFX studio or whatever industry you're in really wants to go to, bit by bit more people come. They can start out small, but that's why having the door prize and having the bar tab is an instant carrot on the stick to get everyone out, to get everyone to come. Even if they simply show up, have a couple of drinks and leave, the cool thing is having that door prize is going to want to make everyone stick around later in the night before the actual prize. So that's kind of the additional thing to throw in there that will keep everyone sticking around once the bar tab has been used up. So what did I say about authority last episode? I talked about how common it is the person interviewing you to be in the position of authority and for you to be intimidated, and how powerful it is to treat them as an equal wherever you can when you're going in for an interview. If you're able to see them as an equal rather than being as your employer or someone with this power, you're going to be a lot more at ease. Now, if you're hosting a couple of industry events and various higher up people attending tend to go a lot, whether it's for support, FaceTime, representing the company, whatever the reasons are, but typically I see a lot of higher up people come to these events because, again, it's networking and it's a chance to get more visibility with their company. So if you have a chance to go and meet these people, and again, the whole point of this is that you position yourself as someone that is mingling and hosting the event and getting to know everyone, then this is very important. This is the whole point that you're doing this. So if you're seen as the person who has organized this event and is hosting everything and has brought all of these people together, then typically you're going to be seen as a little bit of an authority yourself. And by that it means that when you're talking to people, you're not going to be seen as a student or someone who's trying to get their foot in the door, but someone who is mingling, networking, who is active and is being able to do a little bit of their own hustling. And all of that can be really powerful, especially when you are talking with a lot of studio owners and with a lot of supervisors, producers. The more that you get out there, the more that you get a chance to talk to them. Even in basic conversation, everything that you do ends up being a mini interview. And if you have a problem going to interviews and mingling, then what better place to do it than at a bar where you've got a little bit of comfort from having alcohol in your hand. So again, seeing everyone as an equal, treating them as an equal, you're on equal ground here. You're not at their office, you're not intimidated in a position where you need something from them. You're literally just networking and talking to people, but again, you are the host. If anything, they're on your turf. Now, I say all this because it's so easy to do this, and it's not like you're doing it specifically to set up this whole big, massive, setup for this thing to happen, but by just creating these opportunities, this is one of thousands, but it gives you a chance to take some initiative and have a little bit of power. Now, at the same time, the more you get to talk to everyone, it's obviously going to come up, what you do or what you're looking for, and if you're able to name drop that you're looking around or you're chasing doing some work, then obviously there's going to be chances for them to say, you know what, you're the type of person we're looking for this position we might have coming up soon, let me grab your details, or you know what, come by and let's see if we can figure out something. And this is something that I've seen time and time again. So one Hollywood director I asked for some key bit of information when I was a lot younger. He jokingly said, it's all about who you know and who you blow. And obviously that's a bit of a crass way to look at it, but it is all about who you know and also doing favors for people. So again, positioning yourself in a chance to have FaceTime with all these people. You never know when there might be some insightful information you can give them that can help them with something they're doing, or just being able to say, you know what, like if you guys need people, I'm happy to come in and help out, and I'll do it. We'll figure something out, whatever it's going to be. But being able to get to know all these people, you're creating opportunities, and each one of these can lead to something. So look, it might be a little bit of fun to host events like this and become semi-iconic in your local industry, and it might seem like a lot of work to actually do this, which it isn't, trust me on this, but at the end of the day, how's this going to get you a job? What it is you're creating opportunities. You're entering through the side door. In other words, everyone else goes through the typical routes of applying for a job, waiting for a call, going to an interview, hopefully going to the short list of people to go in for that position. By networking, by creating these opportunities for yourself, you're going to be considered in a whole different category to these other people. So the whole point is not to stand out from them, but to completely be in a different situation to them. So that way, and I've seen this so many times, people are chosen because they know them or someone knows them, and because of that they get the job. And I've seen this, I've had this happen to friends of mine and even to myself. If someone knows you or they've gotten to know you, they can vouch for you, then that's all you need. It doesn't need to be about going through the process as much. The more connected you are, the more visible you become. Visibility is always the key. I got several friends who worked at Autodesk and a lot of other different software companies. Now, I mention this because a lot of them would either be in sales or they'd be the demo artists. They'd be the guys who would go around demonstrating software. Now, what's interesting about this is typically the people that they present to are going to be the studio owners, the supervisors, the people who make decisions about what software to use, as well as typically, even if there are people for that, there's going to be studio owners who still want to kind of have their finger on the button. They still want to understand what is going on in their company and how things function. So I've seen this time and time again where these guys come in, and even though they may have a lot of talents in certain areas that don't specifically translate over to what that company does, I've seen them receive offer after offer after offer to come and work for their company for a higher salary than they're offered at the current place they work at. And when you look at this, it's pretty fascinating because it's usually, come work for us, we'll figure out a position for you, or we'll create a unique position for you. Now, what it is because they're seen as someone who has some authority, has key knowledge. They're the representative of a big company that a lot of their company software tools, everything is based around. So for them to come in and act very knowledgeable, that's what they see, and that's what they become familiar with and identify you with, is that you are very knowledgeable on these subjects. So because of that, you must be a valid asset or a valued asset. So I say this because if you apply this to, again, one of 1,000 examples, but hosting an event, you're actually giving FaceTime with people in their spare time, away from work, away from distractions, when they're having their take 5 moment to chill out. You've got their ear, and you have a chance to convey whatever you want. If you want to convey how knowledgeable you are on certain subjects and how you can educate them on certain specific areas, however you want to position yourself, you have their ear, and this is rare. And it's a chance for you to create positions for yourself, to create opportunities that typically wouldn't come up. So keep in mind that analogy of guys working for other software companies being seen as an expert, and even though they might specifically have production experience, they're still being given very lucrative jobs, and they get to exit out of the typical funnels that typically a lot of the hiring pool comes from. So I'm not saying this is a strategy, but just to demonstrate many things I see all the time. And in other words, constant FaceTime as well as high positioning and other combinations together are very powerful, and indirectly hosting an event can be quite powerful to fast track many of the opportunities that aren't typically within reach. So guys, that's it for this episode. I talked lightly about the importance of preparation and online visibility. And in other words, having a beer in your hand is fine, having 2 beers in every photo isn't, but be mindful that you can cater to your Facebook and online presence and showcase the exact image that you want others to see. So this is very powerful. Now, here's a tip. If you want to go further with this, if you have specific sites or material you want people receiving your emails to see, put them in your email signature. As I mentioned here, putting that you're a president or host, coordinator of an event is one of the dozen things that you could put down to give yourself some clout, as well as putting down other information such as a blog of industry articles you've written, your LinkedIn, your Vimeo, CG Society, other things. Also, another massive advantage of this is the more information you give, the more leads and things that typically they're going to look for that you give them, the less they're really going to do any manual or organic searching around. If you give them all the things that they typically would look for, then they're just going to click on those links inside of your email thread. Now, again, maybe you don't want them Googling and looking around search engines for you, so this is a way to kind of prevent that, or at least restrict it a little bit. However, keep in mind at the same time, you can't control what they see and what they don't see, so if you don't do a good enough job here, then they're probably going to end up looking around and seeing what you have. So, be cautious of what is out there with your name tagged to it. So lastly, Lauren, the girl who hosted the event I mentioned years ago, the one that hosted the event who was trying to get into the 3D industry by sending her stuff around and eventually hosted that event. I came to THQ, which is a massive game publisher. They've closed down recently. However, they were responsible for big games like Saints Row, Warhammer, Stalker, lots of really big games. They're one of the top 3 game publishers in the world. I came in there, I flew in for a meeting with the production team about a cinematic that I was producing at the time. And I walked into the office, and Lauren came up to me and introduced herself. She was one of the production coordinators there. I didn't really remember her too well because of how long it had been, but I definitely did recognize her when she mentioned that she hosted that industry event that time. Now, I asked her how she ended up at THQ, and her response was that she hosted that industry event that one time, and she got a lot of contacts that one night just from hosting the event, going around and talking to people. And about a month after that, THQ reached out to her and said that they had an introductory position for her at the company, and if she wanted, she could come in and just see how things go. So this, to me, is the definition of showing initiative and creating your own opportunities rather than just doing what everybody else does. If you create your own side entrance, there will be nobody else you need to go up against when you're creating your own unique path to success. Okay guys, like I said before, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that you've taken a lot of notes and really thought about how this applies to your own personal life and your career right now. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please feel free to leave a comment, and I will definitely listen and try and reply where I can. You can check out the show notes and everything else at the latest episode, which is www.allanmckay.com/7. Now, from here, like I said earlier, I'm running a contest this month where you can win a 1-month membership to Digital Tutors. So all you need to do is 2 simple things. Go on my Facebook page, there should be a link in the show notes, and just like the page. And in iTunes, if you can leave a review and subscribe. Okay, do those, and at the end of the month, November 30 at 11:59 p.m. or roughly around then, I will be going through these and calling out a few random people to win this prize. I'll be giving out 5 of these, so you definitely have a big chance of winning. Okay, so that's it for now, guys, and next episode will be a really cool one. I'm going to be interviewing John Brennick from Weta, who has worked on Planet of the Apes 2, Real Steel, The Hobbit 2, plenty of other really big movies. Really talented guy, really humble, and this is a really inspiring one to listen to. Okay, that's it for now, guys. Thank you.